Hey, podcast listeners. Welcome back to another episode on the Asset Reliability at Work podcast. In today's discussion, we welcome in Dave Mierau, who's going to talk about the idea and philosophy of establishing a mentoring program within manufacturing facilities. Dave's here to highlight the important role a mentor has during a time of generational changeover within manufacturing organizations. We're going to get into the weeds of why manufacturing organizations should start considering, if they haven't already, to develop a mentoring program. So let's get the conversation started in this episode titled, Mentoring Future Leaders of Maintenance, More Important Now Than Ever Before. Welcome, listeners, once again to another episode of the Asset Reliability at Work podcast. In today's episode, we welcome in Dave Mierau, who is a professional engineer and also a certified maintenance and reliability professional. Dave is also a published author and a course facilitator right here at the Lifecycle Institute. And now with that being said, I'd like to welcome Dave onto the Asset Reliability at Work podcast.
Thanks for having me, Derek.
Absolutely. All right, Dave, let's kick this episode off by talking a little bit about you first. I know I gave you a brief intro, but can you tell me a little bit more about your professional career leading up to this point?
Sure. Derek, my background is primarily pharmaceutical and biotech manufacturing. Held various different technical management, site leadership roles. I was a plant engineer, maintenance manager, instrument engineering manager, as well as a site engineering leader for a couple different companies. I also have some background in facilities and utilities design, so a little bit of a varied background based in pharma and biotech primarily.
Well, it sounds like you have a very experienced background, so let's get right into it, Dave. The episode is titled Mentoring Future Leaders of Maintenance, and to have a really detailed discussion, we need to gain an understanding of how you perceive what a mentor is. So what does that title mean to you?
A mentor, really for me, is someone with experience who is willing to help others learn from those experiences. I think it's good they have the right personality to work with others. They need to have the ability to teach others really how to evaluate situations and make decisions. So you don't want a mentor that just gives people the answers. You want them to give them the tools to help make the right decisions along the way. One of the companies I worked for in my past actually had a mentor program, and when I started there, I was a mentee, and the mentor that I worked with was excellent. But we realized pretty quickly that technically the mentor really didn't have a lot to offer in terms of advice technically for me, and what he was really able to help me with was the soft skills. So I think making presentations, working with leadership, building partnerships within the manufacturing site were really great skills that I learned from my mentor at that time. So it was a great introduction to a mentor-mentee program, and eventually I went on to be a mentor later in my career, but it was a good introduction early on for me to see how this type of program could work.
So focusing on the latter part of the episode title where it says, more important now than ever before, we're concluding that there's a sense of urgency to have mentors in place. Why is there such a push for like a present-day mentor program within manufacturing organizations?
Today, many organizations have large numbers of skilled trade and experienced management personnel that are getting ready to retire. Really, the baby boomer retirees are starting to really kick in. New hires coming out of school have more formal education and are more tech savvy than ever before. So there's really this need to transfer all this experience and knowledge from skilled trades and management levels, honestly, and really the need to accelerate the transition. So no doubt over time, these new graduates and entry-level personnel would gain similar experiences to the senior staff, but to help accelerate that transition and not to lose it when the retirements happen, is really critical.
So how important is it for manufacturing organizations to really take the time to develop out a mentoring program within their culture setting?
It's critical for organizations to really pass along the knowledge from the senior personnel. Essentially, you could think of it in a way to avoid the mistakes of the past. So these people have experienced some things that have gone well, some things that haven't gone well. And, to really avoid some of the mistakes that have already been made, essentially, it's great for them to pass along what took place and maybe how to avoid those looking ahead in the future. And this really enhances the theory and the technical knowledge that some of the younger personnel might bring to the table, and maybe complement their theoretical skills with more practical problem-solving abilities and soft skills. Ultimately, it really helps maintain and build interdepartmental relationships as well. As maintenance and engineering and reliability all work together typically day to day, when they start interacting with other organizations, that's where mentors can really help teach younger employees how to work well with other organizations that, have very different backgrounds.
In your opinion, what are the benefits to the organization that has a fully implemented and supported mentor program in place? Is there any direct effect on reliability?
There's definitely a direct impact in a positive way on reliability, because people will eventually become more efficient at solving equipment and maintenance issues and get better at that pragmatic problem solving. Better decisions can be made on how to repair and set up equipment day to day, and even long-term maintenance strategies can be developed more effectively from a lot of this knowledge that's been gained over the years. And ultimately those things reduce unplanned downtime, and that leads to improved equipment availability. And anytime you improve equipment availability, you open it up for additional throughput opportunities, which are big yields typically for clients. So there's definitely a direct impact on mentoring and the skills that it helps transfer to equipment reliability.
So, Dave, you said that you were on both sides of the fence when it came to mentoring. You were both a mentor and a mentee. And I want to talk more about the knowledge transfer that happens and some of the activities that go along with that relationship. So what kind of knowledge transfer might a mentor give to their understudy?
Really, the key knowledge that a mentor can provide a mentee is centered around helping them make decisions, and not just giving them the answer or tell them this is how I would do it. I think that's really a key point of the mentor-mentee relationship, and helping them come to the best possible decisions based on knowledge and advice, rather than just telling them what the answer should be. They can also provide advice around commonly used tools, and in the craft sense, it might be physical tools. Also in the craft sense or on the engineering side, soft tools or analysis tools are important, and basic problem-solving tools that, may not be in a book, but they've learned over the years and they've built over the years and they've proven to be effective on the floor. And really transferring the use of those tools to mentees is really critical. I think also the knowledge and ability to effectively communicate across the entire organization is really critical. Today, everything doesn't need to be in an email or in a PowerPoint. I think, just having a conversation with someone and really explaining what the sense of urgency is or why something is critical is really a skill that needs to be developed over time, and it's different for each organization as well.
However, the reality is that most manufacturing facilities don't have a structured mentor program in place, which makes it difficult to find a person that can fill that role. So what do you recommend that a person who's looking for guidance to do?
It is true. A lot of the companies that I work with in the manufacturing community don't have mentor programs in place today. And really what these companies should do is seek out some of the respected senior personnel in the organization that also have the right personality traits, and are willing to help and transfer some of their knowledge. Sometimes it's seen as, well, I'm just training my replacement, But the reality is you want to position this with the right incentives for mentoring, and maybe even provide a new title like master tradesman or journeyman for some of the skilled trades. Those are terms that aren't used a lot anymore in industry, and I think they really could carry a lot of meaning with them today if used appropriately, and that might provide incentive for senior personnel to get into a mentoring program and transfer some of their knowledge to the new employees that need to learn it. And then hopefully that also builds their knowledge of the new employees and encourages them to stay with their company for longer periods of time as well. I think quantifying how many years of experience you'll lose as a company may help create a sense of urgency. So if you look at the retirees that you're expecting to incur over the next several years, and you look at the number of years of experience you might lose, that could really be a large number. And I think trying to communicate that within the organization may help build the buy-in that you need to create this type of program.
I read an article from Chemical Processing about mentoring within a manufacturing setting, where the writer ends the article by asking, if mentoring is such a win-win situation, why aren't more companies promoting it? What are your thoughts to this?
Well, Derek, the reality is, most people unfortunately don't have a lot of extra time on their hands, and staffs are very thin at a lot of organizations these days. And they're dealing with a lot of day-to-day issues, and they don't really worry about tomorrow's problems, right? So they're very wrapped up into what's happening today, and it's a lot of times difficult just to keep up with that. But this is really a strategic investment, and it may be a 1 to 2 plus year return, but the return is large. And once the mentors retire, it's too late. You can't go back, or it's very difficult or expensive to go back and try and build that knowledge. So, the reality is the value of this type of program and experience far outweighs the cost, and a little time invested now from your senior personnel, can really save weeks of downtime and millions in losses in the future. So it's a small investment, and I think it's really worth making the time for.
Well, Dave, like I said, that'll wrap up the episode for today. I really want to thank you for coming out and being a guest on our podcast. I know we're actively trying to get you on another podcast. So what'd you think, Dave? You think it was good?
This was great, Derek. Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap up the episode, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hey, listeners, one more thing before you go. If you have any feedback for the show, or you have maybe some suggestions for upcoming topics you'd love to hear about, we'd like to hear from you. So there's 2 ways to get in contact with us. The first is on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @LCE_today, so be sure to follow us. And then the other way is to email the show at podcast@lce.com. Once again, thank you for joining the show, and we look forward to more episodes on the Asset Reliability at Work podcast.